Okay, this is going to be a response to freaking Miguel, 88, who made a video a couple days ago about when he will stop watching wrestling, pretty much telling his whole story from when he started watching to up about now and the current product and his thoughts of it. Highly recommend everyone go check that out. I was planning on making a response yesterday, but I'll do it today. But me, Miguel, he talks about, his earliest memories of wrestling and his favorite years of wrestling, being like 93, 94, 95. And mine is a little bit ahead. Mine's more of the 96, 97 is really when I started comprehending what is going on in wrestling, where I could actually understand the storylines and get who's who and this guy is this guy and this guy is that guy. And those were the years that I can say will be forever embellished inside of me. And those are the good years of wrestling. Those are the years I like to go back. There's a reason why I got all the In Your House pay-per-views back a couple of years ago, just so I can go back and like relive those moments and kind of look back on it as a more educated wrestling fan rather than just a 5-year-old kid who just wants to see two guys beat the hell out of each other. So then came the Attitude Era, and that's pretty much, I think, when I feel everybody was in wrestling. You were cool if you watched wrestling, and here I am, being the cool guy. Here I got Steve Austin this, I got The Rock this, Undertaker this, Mankind this, Triple H this, Road Dogg this. It was all just part of that little cult of thing everyone had in common was wrestling. And slowly that started to go away. It was there in 98, 99, 2000, 2001. And then after 2001, after the name change, is when you started seeing things go down. And only those few people really stuck around to really experiment, I don't want to say, but really give WWE that chance. People grew up, I guess you can say. And me being one of those guys was always that one who stayed with them. And to this day, look around me. Wrestling is pretty much consumed a large part of my life, and I can say that I've dedicated more money and more of my time to wrestling than a lot of other things in life. And for me to watch shows and for me to really back up things I see on Monday Night Raw and Thursday Impact, and I don't even watch SmackDown, but SmackDown and pay-per-views, it's kind of hard. And it's kind of when you think to yourself, like, is this really what I want to do? Why am I watching this? Sometimes even ask myself that, like, why do I still watch this? And I know that it's because I do love it, but there's always that one piece of me where it's like, man, this stuff is so bad right now. Like, why even bother? There's so many alternatives you can go to, and they keep letting you down, and the business keeps changing for not the better, but seems to be for the worse. For example, I know Miguel was talking about, he's never had a point where he's never watched WWE. Me, on the other hand, I can say honestly that there has been a time in my life where I did not watch wrestling. It wasn't for a very long time, but it was when Kurt Angle left, and he went to TNA. And around that time, you had Bobby Lashley and Umaga in the main event, which was terrible. I just couldn't stand either of the guys nor the feud. You had John Cena versus Bobby Lashley, which was... Sorry, did I say John Cena versus Bobby? John Cena versus Kevin Federline, I meant to say. And I think everyone was in. I know Triple H was injured. Shawn Michaels was... I don't know if Michaels was injured or not, but a lot of guys weren't there anymore, and they weren't building any new stars, and it got really, really boring to the point where it's like, damn, like I just got out of it completely. And then I went to TNA, and I saw that there is an alternative to wrestling, and that putting on good matches was what they wanted to do, and making the crowd happy instead of the fireworks and the big crowd and whatever. That's not what TNA was about. They're about We Are Wrestling. And they showed that every Thursday, which is why I got so into TNA in, like, 06, 07 when Angle went, and his feud with Joe instantly made me a fan. And around that time you had Abyss, who just beat Sting for the title, and it was everything. Like, it was like me being a kid again, and this time I could understand what was going on, and it was like opening a whole nother door. And then things started to change a bit, because when then TNA started to kind of take the decline, and WWE never really got any better. They kind of stayed on that consistent level. But there's only one time in the year that WWE always gives us that extra push, and that's that poster right behind me. It's WrestleMania. Around WrestleMania time is when they always get it in fifth gear, and they just everything becomes interesting, memorable, intriguing. I remember WrestleMania 23 very, very well. Although you had Umaga and Bobby Lashley, you had Austin in there, you had Donald Trump in there, you had Vince McMahon in there, and you had Batista versus Undertaker, and I was a huge Batista fan. You had Michaels versus John Cena, you had Benoit versus MVP, you had I think Shelton Benjamin was in the Money in the Bank, and Jeff Hardy and Edge and Matt Hardy. It was a pretty stacked card, and it was in Ford Field nonetheless. 20 years later, back WrestleMania 3. So that's when I got, then again, it was so January, February, March, April, 3 months, 4 months, I was not watching wrestling, or WWE to say. And it was like, I got back into it, and then slowly, they just went right back down. TNA was kind of going down slowly, but then WWE would always stay on that consistent, mediocre level. There was nothing that really blew you out of the water, where TNA just kept getting worse and worse. They had their days, but it was not like something that makes you go, oh. And then came 2009, where I saw Ring of Honor for the first time. And then again, wrestling mattered again. They were in even smaller buildings with no pyrotechnics, and they put on awesome matches. They cared about wrestling. And that's what, as you get older, it's not always about entertainment, although wrestling is entertainment, but you want to see two guys and they put on an athletic performance. And that's what ROH did for me. So here I am, 19 years old, all into ROH. You guys have seen the Day in the Life of video, where I openly said I only went to meet Ric Flair and Bret Hart, and I came out as a fan, and a fan to this day. But I can say, like I said, the business changed for the worse, where ROH signed their little Sinclair deal, and everything just crumbled from there. And then now WWE, they had their summer trend. I know Big Rat made a video on this, saying, and I never even picked it up until he mentioned it, that WWE has their times in the summertime where it's like, after WrestleMania, they kind of got a smooth sail until the summer, and that's when the shit's kind of bad. But the summertime, they always pick it right back up, because August, September, October, November, December, until the Royal Rumble, is pretty much that time to kill before they start their WrestleMania boost again. And you had Vince McMahon's $1 Million thing, you had the guest GM, you had CM Punk, and now you had Nexus, now you got this AJ thing. That's a pretty big decline, Not saying the $1 Million thing was like, anything special, but it was pretty cool, him giving away all that money. CM Punk's summer shoot was amazing, Nexus was amazing, it made you want to watch wrestling. But now it's like, what is there really to watch during Monday Night Raw? I know they're going to 3 hours, but sitting through 2 hours is hard enough as it is. And you got just segments are 20 minutes long and matches are 1 minute and 30 seconds. You got another segment that's 10 minutes long, another match that's 39 seconds. You can see where their priorities are at now, where it's like wrestling doesn't matter anymore to them. And here we are, we're the stupid people who tune in every week, which kind of boosts their ratings, which means like what they do is going to work. And now it seems like TNA, after some management switches, that they are getting they're in gear again. And I can honestly say now I am very much interested. You can't tell by looking behind me, but TNA is really where the wrestling lies, and TNA is really where my interest is right now. I can say I missed 80% of Raw, and from what I did see, it was terrible. And I'm not just saying that because of the Hornswoggle segment, although that was an exclamation point in the situation. I just think Raw over the past month has just been getting worse and worse, and for them to really book this show as a go-home show to Money in the Bank, that was even worse, because this Raw is what's supposed to make that fan who's on the fence to buy the show to go through with buying it. And if you think having AJ propose to CM Punk and her saying, I'm going to leave with my future husband, and not actually do that, is going to make you want to spend your $60 to buy a show, you're out of your mind. I want to say, because Money in the Bank's different, because I know people are going to think, it's going to be a good show since the ladder matches are there, but for someone to really go out of their way and spend $60 just to see who AJ is going to pick between CM Punk and Daniel Bryan, it's kind of mind-boggling, honestly. But that's my little spiel there. I I just don't see any reason why anyone would want to buy Money in the Bank besides the ladder matches, but aren't even guaranteed to be good, by the way. Other years, it's been a whole bunch of guys who can, 8 or 9 guys, I think it's usually 8, who are going to kill them, not kill themselves, but put on a show and make a memorable match. You got Big Show, who can barely climb the ladder, Kane, who's been in multiple ladder matches and hasn't really done anything, Jericho, who's getting up there in age, and I'm sure he doesn't want to take any bad bumps, and Cena, who's the top guy who you know isn't going to take any bad bumps. You got those 4 guys. What's the match really going to be of? And the SmackDown thing is honestly a joke, especially with Sandow and Santino and Sin Cara. It's just not good. Wrestling is not, or WWE is not good. Wrestling is good right now. WWE is not. TNA took a guy that WWE didn't want, made him world champion, pretty much made him one of the biggest stars in wrestling right now. And, what's WWE doing? They have a little marriage angle going. Sure, it worked in 2001 with Kurt Angle, Triple H, and Stephanie, but those guys, they knew what they were doing. Not saying that AJ and Punk and Daniel Bryan don't. Like, they are all good at their jobs, but just nobody cares anymore. And it was cool the first couple weeks, but once you prolong it month after month after month, it's not worth it. Now it's kind of like, man, let's get it out of here. Who's she gonna pick? Like, I want to see wrestling now. I don't want to see a Raw end in a 10-minute segment where she slaps 2 guys and they just stare at her walk away. That's just my opinion. Now, leave your guys' thoughts. I prefer a video response to Miguel's video. This is going to be a response as well. Yeah, that's all. See you guys tomorrow.